Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you and welcome to the Corporate Forum of the Social Business Week 2012. Today, we are here at the Corporate Forum to explore the topic on using social business models to serve the bottom of the pyramid as we hear lessons from far-sighted corporate leaders. To share more with us the significance of Social Business Week and social entrepreneurship in general, it is my honor to invite on stage for his opening address, Dean of the NUS Business School, Professor Yeung. Professor Yeung, please.
Professor Mohamed Yunus, Nobel Peace Prize laureate, founder of Grameen Bank. Mr. Satake Yeung, co-CEO of Grameen Yukiguni Maitake Company Limited. And Dr. Arathi Rao, professional marketing Unilever. Mr. Teong, Director, Phillip Securities. Mr. Maitake, Director, Phillip Securities. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of NUS Business School, I am very, very happy to welcome you here to this Social Business Forum for corporate leaders. I am especially pleased to see the collaboration between NUS Entrepreneurship Center and NUS Business School's Asia Center for Social Entrepreneurship and Philanthropy in co-organizing this event. In addition, we have the kind support of the Family Business Network Asia and BOH Hub. As you are aware, social business is a meaningful but diverse sector needing different players working together for the common good. The Social Business Week is now in its second year. It aims to inspire, connect, and engage social entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, social venture investors, academia, government, civil society, and youth. We push the cause. Business is for people. And I really sincerely hope that this can become an annual event here in this setting. The Grameen Creative Lab at NUS was initiated in March 2011 as a result of the partnership between the Grameen Creative Lab and NUS Entrepreneurship Center. At this point, I want to thank Professor. I also want to thank Professor Wang Pukam for the two of you working on all this. The Grameen Creative Lab and NUS and the Grameen Creative Lab and the NUS Enterprise Center's initiative aim to promote and incubate innovation-based social business in Singapore that have the potential to generate scalable and sustainable social impact. GCL at NUS provide budding social businesses seed funding, incubation space, and monitoring service. The Asia Center for Social Entrepreneurship and Philanthropy evolved from our previous center in July 2011 with a fresh mandate to advance the understanding and impact practice of social entrepreneurship and philanthropy in Asia through research and education, and we want to really think through and work on social business. ASCEP, we call the center in short ASCEP, believe in capacity building among the student community and within the sector. They have started already offering two modules in our undergraduate BBA and BBA honors programs, which are social entrepreneurship and business with a social conscience. They're also working on developing an executive education model focusing on strategic philanthropy is in the pipeline for the second half of this year. This year, we are really very pleased and honored to have with us Professor Mohammad Yunus, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate and pioneer of microfinancing. I had a very pleasant conversation and very educational conversation with Professor. He explained it to me, the concept of social business. We feel is an extremely important thing. And as the business school, we feel that maybe we cannot turn everyone into a believer and a devoted person into social business, but we believe that we can help to change the culture, to shift more students to pay attention and devote themselves to do business for society. The corporate forum bring you here and bring together leaders of a lot of far-sighted corporations such as Unilever, Phillip Securities, and Yukiguni, Maitake to share their experience and to inspire other corporate leaders to do good and do well through social business model. Professor and panelists, you're going to be great. We will have a lot of good stimulation and education through your conversation. I want to take this opportunity to say two more things. I want to thank Professor Wong Po Kam for being the driver, organizing this event. I want to thank the Center Director, Professor Lim Sui Sum, for making this, for working with Professor Wong Po Kam to make this happen. And the second thing I want to say is that NUS Business School care a lot about this. We thought about this social entrepreneurship and social business thing starting in 2008 when I first arrived. I organized a retreat. I asked the senior directors and the senior faculties to come together and ask the question, what do we need in this part of the world? We feel that in Asia, social entrepreneurship, social business is one of the things we need, and we devote our resources to it, and we want it to become one of our peaks of excellence. And today, seeing all of you here really warmed my heart to make our job very meaningful. I want to thank you all for the support for being here. Let us use this occasion to share ideas on how we can create both social and economic value in our business. Go for social business, and I look forward to listening to the panelists.
Thank you, Professor Yeung. Also today, we will be using Pigeonhole Live for our Q&A session. If you have a smartphone, a tablet, or a laptop computer with you, just launch your internet browser and go to phlive.ad. Key in our event passcode, which is SBW12. I repeat, it is SBW12. Click Go, and you're free to fire away all your burning questions, while also voting for any question that interests you. The more popular questions with more votes will stand a higher chance to be answered by the speakers. For those without a web-connected device, you can still ask your questions using SMS. Send your coded SMS to 986368888 in the following format. In your SMS, key in 5516 followed by a space, then start typing your question. I repeat, in your SMS, key in 5516 followed by a space, then start typing your question, then send the SMS to 986368888. Do refer to the slide as flashed on the side walls. This contains the instructions on posting the questions that you might have for the panelists during the Q&A session. Moving on, for the panel session today, we are very honored to have with us Professor Mohammad Yunus and several corporate leaders. Now, I would like to invite on stage the moderator of the panel session, Director of the NUS Entrepreneurship Center, Professor Wong Po Kam. Professor Wong, please.
Professor Yunus, distinguished members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen, before I invite Professor Yunus and the panel member up on stage, let me just say a couple of words about the aim of this forum. Now, all of us know about Professor Yunus as a pioneer of microfinance, where through Grameen Bank, he has turned the theoretical idea of microfinance into a real business reality that has impacted social lives around the world. But I believe that Professor Yunus is pioneering something even bigger, much bigger. And it's the idea of a social business, the idea that you can run a business that creates value, but from the value that is being created, it is being channeled to further expand the activity of the business to achieve the social impact, and it will not return a dividend or interest back to the investors. So his idea of a non-dividend but non-loss value-creating business, whose sole purpose is to set up to solve social problems. This is a revolutionary idea in a sense, and you may say that it is perhaps at one extreme of a spectrum of many different types of social entrepreneurial activities. Today, we see many people who want to do good through many different models. There is charity, there is a government agency providing direct funding, there is cooperative, and there are mix of business that perhaps make money and then contribute some to other causes. But I think what Professor Yunus is trying to pioneer is the idea of a corporation, a social business that is run for the sole purpose of creating value to solve social problems. Now, we have actually invited, beside the panelists here, a gentleman called Emmanuel Faber, who is the COO of Danum Group Global. And Danum is one of the pioneer global corporations which has embraced Professor Yunus' idea of a social business. Unfortunately, he cannot be with us today, but I would like to start off our forum with a video clip of what he said at a global social business summit in 2010, which I feel will set the stage about why the normal for-profit company like Danum, which has to respond to shareholder interests and so on, nonetheless see the value of the social business model, has embraced it, and in fact has also set up €100 social business fund dedicated to invest in social entrepreneurs who are starting their venture using the social business model. So let's listen to Emmanuel Faber first.
Let me ask Emmanuel Faber a question here. How does social business affect or influence your leadership style in the larger worldwide management of Danone? Yeah.
Well, social business is about basically the idea that shareholders will forget about the dividends. And therefore all the value which is created by the business will be shared with the community and the stakeholders. So it forces you to look at your company from the society standpoint, inside out. And obviously if you are serious about this vision, it changes completely the way you lead the company, its culture, its organization. We have started 5 years ago, basically, this journey, and we are in the middle of it. But I can say from an organizational standpoint, for example, it led us to adapt the governance of Danone with the committees of the board of directors that have been created to adjust this idea of social value creation. We have changed entirely our strategic planning process to adjust, to start with looking at Danone from the society and the social impact of Danone on society. And we have also adjusted, as Saskia mentioned in her kind introduction, our compensation scheme with now 3/3 for all managers at Danone. 1/3 is economic, 1/3 is management, and 1/3 is social. So it's equally important to match, to reach your target for operating profit and your target for social value creation. And it has transformed our leadership as well, because basically when people are not different. We are not different in and outside the company. And quite often I have seen, including at Danone obviously, many people within the company that are very focused on delivering a certain set of KPIs or indicators, numbers, whatever. And when they are outside of the company, teaching their children, talking to their friends or their family, in their NGOs, they are completely different. They look like they are completely different people. What social business brings to us is the ability to say, as a food company, our responsibility is about health and nutrition and natural environment and developing people and fighting poverty. So you bring this whole part of their human being, their second side of brain and their heart, everything is going to be at work within the core business of the company. So it means there will be different leaders. Obviously that has also influenced our leadership style, and I think it will in the long term, definitely.
Faber, you've been a passionate advocate for social business. Is there one particularly joyful experience that you've had in social business?
So many that I could not answer this question very easily.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think even more than joy, what social business is bringing to us is life. It brings life into the company because it brings society, social problems, issues, the world problems in the company and in everybody's mind and everybody's hearts in the company. It's about innovation. I can tell you that it's been more complex for us to design the smallest, cheapest spoon of yogurt that exists on earth, and yet the most powerful one, given the micronutrients that we have inside, at an absolutely affordable price. It's an incredible breadth of innovation and new ways, new approaches, where we co-create with NGOs, governments, the help, obviously in this case, of Grameen, etc., which would not be possible the same way if we hadn't taken profit outside of the table. If you take profit outside of the table, then you sort of demilitarize the area, and you can start having alliances built, co-creating, and this is something which I think is really about life. So more even than joy, I think what social business is bringing to companies like ours is a new breath of life. But what is most fascinating for me is how it changes, again, the leadership of our own people. One very simple example, there was a social business chair started here by European Business School, launched by Professor Yunus, sponsored by Danone in Germany, and trust me, I did not know about it. I did not know. So it just means that the people within Danone, they've been able to grab the opportunity and just do it by themselves. So I'm not behind this. It just happened because of Danone people now. And for me, it's a fantastic example of how it changes the whole leadership style.
Okay. May I now invite the members of the panel to come on stage? Professor Yunus? Satake, and Dr. Arathi Rao, please. And may I invite Mr. Ong and Dr. Tan from Phillip Securities. Start by asking Professor Yunus to maybe share how he managed to convince global corporations like Danone, Bars, Reebok, Veolia to actually embrace the social business idea and to make it into a reality.
Well, hello. Good morning. Well, that was easy. That was not that. Okay. I didn't have to work too hard on that. In each case, basically, they came forward rather than me going and explaining to them. I didn't go to Danone. I had no idea who Danone is, what they do. I never, in the kind of world where Danone was a name. So when I was invited to talk to chairman of Danone, Frank Ribou, I never heard of his name. He invited me to have lunch with him in Paris. And my first response was negative. I said, sorry, I can't come. Then he explained that you are coming to France, and why don't we use this time for a meeting? And we have lunch together. Then again say, I'm not coming to Paris, I'm going to Deauville. And I thought Deauville is far, far away from Paris. I had no idea what Deauville is. And for a global women's conference. So I thought this time it doesn't work and I cannot stop, I have to come back quickly. So he said, if you're going to Deauville, definitely you'll be coming to Paris airport. So you'll be passing through Paris to go to Deauville. And why don't you just stop on the way and we can have lunch? So this is the persuasion that he had to do to get me. So we had this finally arranged, and on the way we stopped. He chose a restaurant right on the way to the meeting place in Deauville. And we had a good discussion. There he wanted to know more about Grameen, how we do it, how does it work, because he was kind of puzzled how a system can work where there's no lawyer, there is no guarantee, but still you give money, people pay back. Other people in Bangladesh are stupid people, they're paying back the money without anything. What is it? So he was very curious to know all this, and I explained to him. And then I was asking him, what is Danone? What do you do? So he explained what he does, and I said, why aren't you doing it in Bangladesh? He said that they don't work in Bangladesh. Why don't you do it in Bangladesh? And then he said, well, we work in India, we work in Indonesia. I said, why didn't you come and we can work together? And he said, what can we do in Bangladesh? So I said, maybe we can do a company, set up something to do. He said, okay, I'll agree. So he agreed right away, he shook hands. And then I said, well, I'm not finished yet. What else? I said, this will be a social business. He said, what is a social business? So I go in a big presentation on what is a social business. And he again extends his hand, he said, I agree. So I said, this guy agrees too quickly. And I realized that he didn't understand my Bangladeshi English. And probably I didn't understand his French English. So we missed each other. So on the way to Deauville, I sent him a long email explaining what we discussed and what I proposed, what he agreed on. And I said, in case I misunderstood you, because I was sure I was misunderstanding him all along, or he was misunderstanding me all along. This is a time to tell me what is exactly you had in mind when I said it, and are you interested to continue this discussion? Within an hour I get my reply. Still I have not reached Deauville yet. I got the confirmation. I understood every word of what you said, and your record is done precisely. I sign on your record, whatever you said, and let's go ahead and do it. That's the beginning. So I didn't have to spend too much time on that. But really working on it was very hard. And that's where Emmanuel Faber comes in. You saw how he is talking about. In the beginning he was not sure how this social business can be done. So we spent a lot of time together with the big top officials coming from several countries, from Danone, from Beijing, from Jakarta, from Brazil, from Paris. They all gathered to see what is the social business about. And finally, after several days of work, we decided on creating a yogurt which will be solving the problem of malnutrition among the poor children in Bangladesh, or children in Bangladesh. Children across the board are malnourished. So that's what the Danone yogurt came about as a social business. And with this is a very fascinating video that you showed. All the top characters are here. Emmanuel Faber was sitting there, and next to him is BSF CEO, Dr. Humbrecht. And the next to him is Dr. Heinemann, who is Dr. Heiner, who is the Adidas CEO. So all three of them are there. They are the one who the story that we'll be talking about. BSF, again I was invited by Dr. Humbrecht. I didn't know about BSF. I didn't know about Dr. Humbrecht. But again, he was interested to know what the social business is, and then finally we became very enthusiastic about creating a social business. There are two ideas that we finally focused on in the discussion. One is malaria, to produce mosquito net. Another was bringing vitamins and other food supplement in a very cheap way, so that all the poor families can afford to put it in their food and have all the nutrition that is coming up. But we finally concentrated on one item. There's a mosquito net, which is done now. It's a running company in Bangladesh producing mosquito nets. The other one, Dr. Heinemann, Dr. Heiner, he invited me to come to his complex, head office, Adidas, and he asked me, how does Adidas get involved in the social business? So I said, why don't you create a separate company as a social business company? And there should be a mission statement for this company. And the mission statement could be something like this: nobody in the world should go without shoes. As a shoe company, it's our responsibility to produce shoes affordable even by the poorest people. So when I said that, he was shocked. He said, this is a big statement. I said, Adidas is a big company. So what is the problem? Why don't you take a big challenge? So he was a little bit shaken by my both statements. And he said, well, maybe we should do that, but it looks like something big. I said, well, we can discuss this, how to do that. So he started discussing with his top colleagues, and during the lunchtime, I was not included in their discussion. During the lunchtime, they gathered together again. He asked me, he's sitting next to me, he asked me how cheap the shoe should be in order to be affordable to the poorest person. So I said, immediately said, maybe under €1. Again, he looks at me with a big surprise. You mean Adidas shoes under €1? I said, yes, you want to reach the poorest people. So that's the price point you can get to. He said, you're a very difficult man. I said, well, the situation is difficult. It's not me difficult. So they spent another 2 hours together. And at the end of the day, came and got together and announced that they are going to take this challenge and work hard. But they're not assuring me that it would be under €1, but they said, we'll come as close as possible. So they kept the door open so that they don't fail in that effort. They worked for 2 years to make that happen. They brought all their technology, all their experts to make sure this shoe can be made under €1 and sold it under €1. And now it's done after 2 years of work. So this is how each one has happened. It's a kind of effort that the CEO of each company has devoted, that we want to take the challenge and make it happen. This is where we don't talk about profit, we don't talk about anything else, but produce something which will be helping in solving problem, that it's continuing, and we can play a role. We have the technology, we have the creativity, focus on that. And that's what they have done. And many other companies you'll be hearing a lot about. And what Emmanuel said is a very interesting word, and he used it very well. He said, in the social business, we created demilitarized zone. And that's very important, because as long as you're in the profit world, you have some enemies, you have some other conditionalities that you have to fulfill. There's a boundary conditions within which you work. But the moment you remove these boundary conditions, you are totally in an open world. Your mind can work in a very different way. If you're doing a social objective-driven company only, then you are only one boundary conditions, one set of boundary conditions, only social objectives. But if you want to try to mix both the profit idea and the social objective idea, then you are working under two boundary conditions. No matter what, whether you have a tiny profit or a big profit, doesn't matter. You are still within that boundary conditions. So that limits your activity. And the power of the logic of profit is so much, because that's what we have developed enormously, their logic of profit. So the moment you mix it with the social objectives, the overpowering logic is the profit logic. So that's why the demilitarized zone is very important. Here we took off all those powerful logics out from the table, from the zone that we have demilitarized zone. There is no powerful logic of profit anymore. We are free. We are only focusing on one thing. That's the social business thing. So that's why it's very important to do that. And again, I should emphasize, I'm not saying that mixing both social objectives and profit objectives is anything wrong. It's nothing wrong. It's good, and do that. And social business is not against them. Social business is a new space which is not hostile to anything else. Simply that this space was not existing. Now we are introducing it. It's an option. So it's not something that everybody has to do. No, that's not what we say. We said this is an option everybody should know about. That's all we're saying. Then if you feel like, yes, this is where we'd like to play, we would like to be involved with, you're welcome. If somebody is not doing it, doesn't mean that he or she is hostile to the idea of social business. Simply didn't find it interesting. If you find it interesting, you'll be coming forward to do that. That's what's important for us, someone who's coming from a completely different background, to see the response from Dr. Hambrick, Dr. Hanger, or Emmanuel Faber, or all the other CEOs, and Fan Rigaud, like the chairman, their response. It's such a warm response. And hearing the words after 4 years of involvement in social business with Emmanuel Faber, you can see how much impact it has made in the company. That's what our intention was. We didn't intend to change the norm. That's the least of our problem. We only wanted to create a tiny little company. The total investment in that company in Bangladesh on Danone Grameen was only 1 million euro. That's all we were focusing on. We had no idea what the rest of Danone does and so on. Now today what we're hearing here in this video, Emmanuel Faber talk about what impact that tiny little company has made inside of the giant company. All the rethinking, reprocessing and all those things. That's the kind of extra that we got.
Thank you. Now it's my great pleasure to invite Satake Yukoh-san to share with us his experience in working with Grameen. Satake-san is the Senior Managing Director of Yukiguni Maitake, and in recent years he has established a joint venture with Grameen to set up the Grameen Yukiguni Maitake. And I'll ask him to maybe share with you how he started this and what is the outcome so far.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to have this wonderful opportunity to share our Grameen Yukiguni Maitake social business experience with you today. I would like to thank you, Professor Bokhan, and the members in DCL at NUS for inviting me this important event. Grameen Yukiguni Maitake, GYM, is social business venture between Grameen Krishi Foundation in Bangladesh and Yukiguni Maitake in Japan. And we are honored to have a Professor Yunus, chairman of this company. Thank you very much, Professor Yunus. We are particularly happy to find out that GYM is the first social business in the world in the area of agriculture. Today, I will share the following three subjects. What's the first page? First page, please. Okay. So, look at this picture. Bangladesh and Japan national flag is very similar. But how to eat mung bean is quite different like this. This is a business meaning. Okay, thank you. Today, I will share the following three subjects. How this social business was started. Why did we decide to cultivate mung bean in Bangladesh? Second, present status of this business. Third, the social aspect of this business. The primary purpose of this business is to create job and business opportunity in the rural area in Bangladesh. The farmers will produce mung bean. 70% of the product will be exported to Japan, and 30% will be in local market. Please look at this picture. I believe this vegetable is popular in Singapore. Really? Okay. This is called in English sprout, called in Chinese toya. Yeah, really? Okay. Called in Japanese moyashi. Do you know the origin of this sprout? In fact, these sprouts are coming from mung beans. Many Japanese don't know this one, but they are eating moyashi almost every day, like this country. In Bangladesh, mung bean is also popular, but expensive. We compare with other beans and vegetables. They eat it as a dal soup, but not as vegetables. The way of eating may be different, but mung bean is equally important for both countries. Therefore, we started to plan for producing mung bean in Bangladesh by using our technology and Grameen's experience in farming management in Bangladesh. So now let me go back to the history of this business. There are three encounters. In January 2010, I visited for the first time Bangladesh through a research opportunity program jointly organized by Professor Yunus in Japan and Dr. Asil in Bangladesh. I visited a village called Eklas Pool along with 30 other students and Coporate members from Japan. Eklas Pool is only 45 kilometers away from Dhaka, but it took 6 hours to go there by bus and ship. We stayed in the village for 10 days without sufficient electricity and hot water. It was very cold in the village. 3 of us shared same bed and blanket and passed our cold winter nights there. By living like local people in the village, we had a great opportunity to discuss with the farmers to know more about their requirements. After coming back from village, we had a great chance to meet and listen to Professor Yunus talking about social business. I was impressed by the speech and soon decided to do something for the farmers in the village. Fortunately, my company, Yukiguni Maitake, is agriculture company. We produce mushroom and moyashi toya sprout. I am also in the board of YMC. YMC produced 50,000 tons of mushroom and 15,000 tons moyashi sprout per year. YMC gross sales in 2011 was 400 million US dollars. YMC is not big as Canon, Adidas, or ASCEP, like compared with other Grameen family companies. But I believe we can make significant change in Bangladesh through agriculture business. Because more than 65% of the people in Bangladesh are farmers. After returning to Tokyo from Bangladesh, I made a business proposal and discussed its possibility with the Japanese development organization, such as JICA and JETRO. In June 2010, I came back to meet with Professor Yunus in Dhaka with a draft business plan. It was a 1-hour-long meeting. Professor Yunus carefully reviewed the plan and shaped it up in the social business format, like this. They are 2 very young guys, because it was 2 years ago. The whole meeting was very exciting, and Professor Yunus shook hands with me. I will never forget that moment. I returned to Tokyo right away and proposed the plan to the board of YMC and also YMC founder, Mr. Odaira. In August 2010, after 2 months, Professor Yunus visited Tokyo, Japan. I set up a meeting with our founder, Mr. Odaira, and Professor Yunus. Mr. Odaira shared his early life experience. He even couldn't go to the high school because of poverty. They both understood their goal to fight against poverty. The meeting ended with a bright hope that we can create a social business together. 2 months later, in October 2010, we signed up the agreement and track. It happened to be the 4th anniversary of Professor Yunus' Nobel Prize announcement. The signing ceremony was held in Grameen headquarters, like this. It all happened in the 10 months period from my first visit to Bangladesh. I cannot realize how fast time flew. For these 2 years, I visited Bangladesh just 20 times. Second, my home. Now, let me talk about our business plan. This is totally a business. Win-win business for both Japan and Bangladesh. If there is no benefit for both countries, business will not sustain. Let me explain details. Market volume of moyashi sprout is $800 million in Japan. Imported amount is 60,000 tons last year. Over 90% mung bean imported from China and less than 10% from Myanmar. Unfortunately, we produce 0% in Japan. The same is true for other grains too. I guess Singapore has the same situation. The price of mung bean is also increasing every year. It increased 2 times during the past 4 years. The world population is increasing and the income of the developing countries is also increasing. So therefore, food price will also naturally increase. Now, Jim create 3 benefits for Japan. One is sustainability supply of mung bean to Japan. Second, to prevent price rising risk. Third is by using agricultural check system, agri-chemical check system, to supply a safe and reliable beans. Because YMC can check about 400 agri-chemicals within 1 day. Grameen Yukiguni Maitake formed Bangladesh as a country to be a good partner to supply constant mung bean at a good price. We studied the price in the local market and we found that Grameen Yukiguni can offer a better price to the farmers. Professor Yunus once said, income is the best medicine for the poor. Yeah. So, and we are happy to ensure income for the farmers. Jim create job opportunities in 3 phases. One is planting and harvest phase. Group of farmers will be engaged in planting and harvest. A group of farmers will be engaged in planting and harvesting. We already have over 7,000 farmers already registered for this. Next is the sorting phase. This will provide income opportunity for the village women. Third, sales phase. Our 30% mung bean will be consumed to the local market. This will be sold in a lower price. The beans will be sold in a lower price so that the lower income people can have access to this nutritious protein. Let me introduce the present status. Through this project, Grameen Yukiguni Maitake will create 3 kinds of job opportunity in Bangladesh. One is just agriculture to plant and harvest mung bean. We already contracted with more than 7,600 farmers like this. Second is sorting job. This will create a cash income for the over 1,000 women. To eliminate in garbage, small stone, bad beans like this. This part is very important to cultivate good sprout. Third is sales for the rural people. Must be to be sold at the lowest price for the farmers. Nutritious mung bean is very useful for the growth of rural children. From now, I will introduce the business plan for this year. At the end of this month, we will start planning the northern, western, and southern part of Bangladesh. Cultivation time will be only 75 days. At the north area, it took 10 hours by bus. It's every time very hard trip for me. Now, look at this map. Grameen Yukiguni Maitake will manage over 706 farmers in the 3 different locations. 4,300 people will take part in north, 2,800 from west, 500 from south. This is Bolshar, Rampur, Natu, Ishwar, Thavna. I'm very like this. Our target harvest is 860 tons in the north, 800 tons in west, and 360 tons in south. Total 2,000 tons this year. To manage and guide over 700 farmers, we created a training video like this.
বাংলাদেশের অর্থনীতি কৃষি নির্ভর। এখানকার জলবায়ু আর নদীবিধৌত পলিযুক্ত মাটি এদেশের কৃষিকে করেছে সুফলা। তবে এও সত্য যে আধুনিক কৃষি প্রযুক্তির ব্যবহারে বাংলাদেশ এখনো অনেকটাই পিছিয়ে। গ্রামীণ ইউকিগুনি মাইতাকে লিমিটেড, বাংলাদেশের প্রতিষ্ঠান গ্রামীণ কৃষি ফাউন্ডেশন এবং জাপানের কৃষিভিত্তিক সংস্থা ইউকিগুনি মাইতাকে কর্পোরেশনের যৌথ একটি পদক্ষেপ। গ্রামীণ ইউকিগুনি মাইতাকি প্রকল্প বাংলাদেশে বিশেষ করে মুগ ডাল চাষের দক্ষতা বৃদ্ধি করে বড় আকারের মুগ বীজ উৎপাদন এবং তা জাপানে রপ্তানির মাধ্যমে কৃষকদের আয় বৃদ্ধি করার জন্য কাজ করে যাচ্ছে।
এটা মুগ ডালের চাষ। মুগ ডাল চাষ আমরা জানি, আগেও করেছি, এটা নতুন কিছু না। কিন্তু এটা হচ্ছে অন্য ব্যাপারে, এটা সামাজিক ব্যবসা হচ্ছে। এটাকে আমরা, আপনারা যেটা তৈরি করবেন এখানে, আমরা যেটা উৎপাদন করবেন সেটা শুধু আমরা খাবো তা না, আমরা কিছু এটা রপ্তানিও করবো, জাপানে রপ্তানি করবো, তারাও খাবে, আমরাও খাবো, তারাও খাবে।
Maybe everyone cannot understand. Okay, so like this guideline is very important because they cannot read a letter and language. So to see the video is very important. It's very easy to understand. Like this. So total is 16 minutes. Okay? Next please. And we are developing the web-based platform to monitor the cultivation and provide prompt suggestion by using PC and mobile phone. This system is called ICT. All the farmers are registered on the database, that is address, age, field, family, etc. So, like this. So, next page, please. Same as Facebook. So we can share all information and teaching and Q&A. We are all shared on the web, like this. To ensure this system, we hired over 50 field supervisors at each area. Now let me finally explain the social aspect of this business. In Bangladesh, sometimes farmers don't get the proper price from the wholesalers. Grameen Yukiguni Maitake will ensure a stable and higher price than the local market price. This will encourage the farmers to grow good quality mango beans. We will provide our technical know-how in order to improve the harvest. It is very important to use good quality and appropriate pesticide and fertilizer. The decisive difference is this social business, not industry, but just agriculture. Traditional industry must build the factory near big city like Dhaka, Chittagong, but our production facilities will be everywhere in the country. Most farmers live in the rural areas and they are the victims of poverty. Grameen Yukiguni Maitake is working directly with these farmers. For the sorting work, again the cash goes to breadwinners. Grameen Yukiguni Maitake as a social business organization will make profit by selling mango bean to Japan at a higher price. The profit will be invested to the farmers' family in the same area for education, healthcare, and improvement of nutrition. In the last 2 years, we carried out 3 trials. The findings of 3 trials tell us how to avoid the virus or insect attacks. Our experiment also shows how to produce big size and healthy mango bean. We were discussing with the government to obtain export permission. We hope that government will consider the benefit of the farmers. The very challenging season for us. After the experiment, we are now preparing for the commercial planting and harvest. I am glad to hear that Singapore is going to start the social business stock exchange, impact investment stock exchange, which is the first one in the world. I hope that Grameen Yukiguni will be first listed company as a social business in Singapore stock exchange. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Taka-san. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Rao to share with us how and why Unilever, a global company with diverse interests in a wide range of consumer goods, have chosen to partner with a social entrepreneur from Singapore, Jackson, to launch and market a low-cost sanitation product.
Hello, good morning everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to this forum. I'm really honored to be here in the presence of such a light company. Today I would like to share with you a unique public-private partnership we have in Unilever between Domestos, which is our Unilever's toilet cleaning brand, and the World Toilet Organization. So there has been an increasing trend for global public-private partnerships in the last 10 years. This is because people, organizations have recognized the growing scale and the complexities of global health challenges. It has also been recognized that the healthcare structures in place are still inadequate. And also there have been some very visionary leaders who can see the benefits that we can get out of such public-private partnerships. Now, as it says in the start over here, basically a public-private partnership is established to address global health problems in which public and private for-profit sector organizations have a voice in collective decision-making. In the Millennium Development Goal 8, in fact, they've also stressed on developing global partnerships for development. So what does it take to succeed? In Unilever, we have got really fantastic examples of many public-private partnerships. And I think if both the companies can work synergistically, we can actually achieve a lot. So basically, to identify and play to the partnership's competitive advantage, adequately resource the partnership secretariats, good management practices, which includes goals, work plans, and deliverables, good governance practices, which also includes proper representation, transparency, and accountability, acknowledge and to meet the partners' divergent interests, ensure operations strengthen national and the local systems, and to strive for continuous self-improvement. Now, what is the global sanitation issue? As I think these are some of the facts up here on the chart. As most of you must be aware, access to a clean toilet should be a basic human right. Yet 2.6 billion people, that's almost 2/5 of the world's population in the world, do not have access to adequate sanitation. Now, this causes constant risk of disease, leading to millions of deaths every year. Lack of sanitation also causes illness, loss of productivity, absenteeism from school for children, and also death. We know that diarrhea kills more children annually than AIDS, malaria, and measles combined, and also puts a huge strain on economies. Some statistics, for example, 1 in 10 school-age African girls do not attend school during menstruation or drop out at puberty because of the lack of clean and private sanitation facilities in schools. And obviously every parent wants the best for their child, and obviously they make sure that they reach their potential. So the less time they miss the school, the better. So looking at the previous chart, obviously we realize why is proper sanitation so important. Currently 1,000 kids under 5 die every day from sanitation-related diseases like diarrhea, hepatitis. So adequate sanitation can ensure that more children live past the age of 5. Girls are dropping out of school once they reach puberty due to lack of private, safe bathroom facilities. So giving them a proper sanitation ensures that there is increased education for girls, which drives economic growth. And illness and loss of productivity harms the nation's economies. So proper sanitation once again ensures productivity among developing nations could decrease the growth. So looking at all these factors, we in Unilever decided to form a partnership. Now this issue of sanitation is so big that it is difficult for only one single organization to try and solve the problem. So we formed a partnership with the World Toilet Organization, of which, as you all know, Jackson is the president. Both the partners share the same common vision. And we feel that the combined strength of both the partners can be used to address the sanitation issue. In Unilever, we really believe that small actions make a big difference. So from open defecation in fields to a proper toilet that contains waste will lead to millions of lives being improved. We like to think big. We are looking out to reach out to millions of people and improving their lives. So public-private partnerships are the key to accelerating progress towards our ambitious goals like the Millennium Development Goals. When implementing change, it is important to have a wide understanding of consumer habits, cultures, and lifestyles to ensure that the right message gets to the right people. Working in a public-private partnership enables the pooling of resources to do this effectively. The private sector can bring consumer understanding and reach, while the public sector can bring different channels and access to the poorest of the poor. That is why many of our most powerful campaigns, particularly in public health, are run by public-private partnerships. So in Unilever, as you all know, we are one of the world's leading suppliers of fast-moving consumer goods. Our products are sold in over 170 countries and used by 2 billion consumers every day. And our leading toilet hygiene brand is called Domestos. And the World Toilet Organization is a global non-profit organization committed to improving toilet and sanitation conditions worldwide, with their mission being to improving the sanitation conditions for people globally. Just to give you a short history about Unilever. So at Unilever, we believe that the very business of conducting business in a responsible way has a positive social impact. We create and share wealth, invest in local economies, and develop people's skills, both inside our organization and in the communities around us. This is a vision shared by Unilever's founding fathers that business success could go hand in hand with doing good things in society, even as far back as the 1880s. You can see this approach is reflected in the company's mission from the 1880s. These ideals have remained at the heart of Unilever's approach to business for well over a century and remain so today. They are determined to improve people's lives and help them to create a better future. Unilever's vision is to create, like I mentioned, a better future. We want to grow our business and enable more people to enjoy the benefits that our products bring: clean drinking water, personal hygiene, affordable nutrition, but growth at any cost is not viable. That is why we have come up with the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan. that is to develop new ways of doing business so that we can continue to grow while both increasing the positive social impacts of our brands and reducing our environmental impact. So in order to do this, we have got 3 headline targets by 2020. To halve the environmental impact of our products across the life cycle, to source 100% of our agricultural raw materials sustainably, and to help more than 1 billion people take action to improve their health and well-being. So this is where we come in with respect to our partnerships with various NGOs and other organizations. Now the partnership between Domestos and World Toilet Organization. Now both the organizations have the same common objective, to address the Millennium Development Goal, to address the issue of global sanitation through partnership, education and effective communication. Now what are the elements of our partnership? So we are very proud to say that just last year in Vietnam we launched the world's first Domestos Toilet Academy to help solve the problem of sanitation. And also what we do during the World Toilet Day, which is on November 19th, is digital amplification to create awareness of the issue of sanitation. I will just briefly tell you a little bit about both these 2 elements. So the first I will talk about the Domestos Toilet Academy. We opened the world's first toilet academy last year in Vietnam. We launched it, rather the work on the academy is work in progress, and hopefully by the next World Toilet Day it should be up and running. So this will be based on the SaniShop model which has been developed by the World Toilet Organization, the pilot is actually running in Cambodia. It will be the first of several as a part of a global rollout of toilet academies. Now what the academy will do is, it will train local people wanting to start up their own business to source, sell and maintain toilets. They will then go back into their communities, raise awareness of the necessity of sanitation and help take ownership of this important issue. And the curriculum will include hygiene models which will give the students the skills and training they need to source and supply toilets from local communities, start their own business, and educate the local community where they work about the need for clean, functioning toilets for safe and hygienic purposes. A few pictures of launch of the Toilet Academy. We got support right from top down. The picture over there that you can see is, along with Jackson, is the chairman of Unilever Vietnam, who has been very supportive of this initiative. And besides him, even the senior stakeholders of Unilever are very supportive of this initiative and are looking forward to having the academy up and running later this year. Secondly, I just wanted to talk to you about the digital amplification of this issue to raise the awareness of sanitation through the digital media. So in 2010, we came up with a campaign called the Flush Tracker. Now, Flush Tracker is a very interesting campaign. So it's an interactive website that maps the journey of your flush on Google Maps, emailing you when it reaches its destination. So it was a huge hit, and basically it was in the developed markets. So it's kind of a light-hearted and engaging tool to drive awareness of the sanitation crisis and the fact that 2.6 billion people in the world are still suffering in poor sanitation conditions. So it was rolled out in UK, Ireland, Poland, South Africa, and in 2011 in Russia, Italy, France, and Romania. So the program, like I mentioned, was several digital media were used, such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. There was a big PR campaign through print, radio, TV, and for the launch, the PR was kicked off 7 days before the World Toilet Day, that is on the 19th of November. Let me just share with you a few results from 2010 and 2011. Now the global results. In 2010, 70 million was the total reach in major global news publications, appeared online on over 70 news sites or blogs, total reach on Twitter, as you can see, 4 million, over 13,000 people liked it on Facebook. The numbers were even bigger in 2011, 163 million total impressions, so many website visitors, 51,000 flushes appeared online on over 256 news sites or blogs, total reach on Twitter more than 50,000, and more than 12,000 people liked it on Facebook. So basically what these figures are, all the impressions, the kind of hits that were made on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everything, which added up to number 163 million impressions across 256. So all those impressions translate into media equivalent without really spending too much. Actually, we created a huge awareness about the issue of sanitation. And in 2011, we also had a link on the site wherein if people were interested in kind of giving some kind of a monetary benefit to WTO, they could actually do so. So, in summary, I cannot give you too much details about our Domestos Toilet Academy because, like I told you, it is still work in progress. We are working on it right now in Vietnam. And like he mentioned, I'm also making a lot of trips to Vietnam this year. Hopefully by next year or the end of this year, we should be able to talk more about it. So hence, through this partnership between Unilever's Domestos and the World Toilet Organization, we aim to create awareness and help to solve the issue of sanitation. We have made a start and we are looking forward to working closely together to achieve the goals of a common mission. I would now like to share with you a short video on the issue of sanitation. So besides our partnership with the WTO, we also have a partnership with UNICEF, which you can see in this video.
Every 20 seconds, a child dies as a result of poor sanitation. Having access to a clean toilet should be a basic human right. Yet 40% of the world's population, some 2.6 billion people, are without basic sanitation. 1 in 10 school-age African girls do not attend school during menstruation because of the lack of clean and private sanitation facilities in schools. In 2001, the Millennium Goal to ensure environmental sustainability set out to halve the number of people without basic sanitation by 2015. Domestos, Unilever's leading toilet hygiene brand, is already involved in addressing the sanitation crisis, working in partnership with UNICEF and World Toilet Organization. Domestos is supporting UNICEF's programs on sanitation, which will promote good hygiene practices, help create a demand for access to toilets, and raise awareness of this important issue. It is also supporting the World Toilet Organization's activities in the field, enabling local entrepreneurs to sustainably build and maintain toilets. Domestos knows that there is more that can be done and is looking for ways to expand operations to dramatically accelerate results. Better sanitation creates better lives.
The World Toilet Organization, founded in 2001, we also named 19 November as World Toilet Day.
It was time people started talking about sanitation openly as an issue that kills 1.8 million people every year.
Together, we are starting for the first time, Domestos Toilet Academy. The academy teach the local poor to produce toilets and start micro factories. They also teach the village woman to become the sales agent for the producer. By training them to produce and sell toilets, we create a market approach system where jobs are created for manufacturing, jobs are created for selling. We can deliver sanitation in perpetuity.
Together, Domestos, UNICEF and the World Toilet Organization are addressing the sanitation crisis using a sustainable, long-term approach. This will help millions of people in developing countries get access to clean toilets for a safer and healthier future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Last but not least, I'd like to invite Mr. Ong to share a little bit about why Phillip Capital, a financial services company based in Singapore, decided to go into Cambodia through partnering with the local microfinance financing institution.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why we have both Michael and myself here this morning is because both of us are championing the company's initiative in Cambodia.
And it's only fair that both of us share equally the responsibility at this forum this morning. Okay, I shall be quickly introducing Phillip Capital as a... Sorry, how do I do this? Phillip as a company and how we got ourselves involved in microfinance. And Michael will be going into greater detail. Okay. First, we started in 1975 as a private limited company, and we are still a private limited company, and stockbroking is our core business. Okay. We are full integrated financial services provider, providing a wide range of financial products. We are in 12 countries, in UK, in US, largely in Asia. If we include Cambodia, it will be 13 countries. We have 3,500 employees. So that gives you an impression as to who we are and what we are. And this is the range of products. Stockbroking is our core business. We have venture capital and private equity, something which I've omitted. Debt capital, capital markets, fund management, futures, derivatives, corporate finance, lending, wealth management, research, investor relations, real estate, and soon will include microfinance. Okay. Now, why do we get involved in it? Underpinning the organization is our ethos and our ethics. The ethos is a man created in the image of God. He's got gifts and talents and in varying measures. And it is a high view of man that demands that the organization prevails upon each person to develop himself to his fullest potential. So business is about people, as Professor Yeung has said. And our ethical code. Okay? Now, we have 8 of it. This code guides us in our behavior and how we conduct ourselves and our businesses. That which has direct bearing on microfinance is number 5. We build businesses rather than trade, and therefore we will go for the long haul. Unlike increasingly you see private equity firms getting involved in microfinance, exit after X number of years, take a profit and smile all the way to the bank. We don't do that. We go for it for the long haul. We intend to build a business. Okay? Now we see ourselves as stewards to one another, to family and community. Okay? And the last is we play positive sum games. Now we've always been reminded that in any transaction, it must benefit the customer, it must benefit the salesperson, and it must also benefit the company. So it's not a zero-sum game where one benefits at the expense of the other. Now, if you look at the client protection principles, which was recently enunciated by CGAP, I think we've got it perhaps a little earlier than them. So this is the ethos and ethics that underpins the whole organization. Okay, why do we get into microfinance? There are 3 reasons, not in order of priority. One is that it's consistent with our core competence. Now, we are in finance, so microfinance is part of it. Information technology, we are pretty strong and we are dependent on IT. In fact, we pioneered internet trading in Singapore. And the other one is consistent with our corporate ethos. I mentioned earlier that the three or four of it that is quite consistent with it. And the last of it probably is the most compelling, is a social dimension in microfinance. Now that ties in very closely with a corporate social responsibility. Okay, because when we do that, we are able to engage like-minded stakeholders to expand the ecosystem. The 3 areas of microfinance that we are looking at, one is asset accumulation. That's micro-mortgage. We invested in one micro-mortgage company in Cambodia that instead of having the borrowers pay rental to the landlord, they must not pay us. And at the end of the year, at the end of the tenor of a loan, they own the assets. Okay? The other one is the income generation microfinance companies. At the moment, we are awaiting approval from the regulators on 2 microfinance companies. That is for income generation. And the third is income preservation. That's micro insurance. Now, we are looking at it very closely. We have not got into it yet because the guidelines have just been issued by the Cambodian authorities. And that is something that we are very keen to look into. Now, why Cambodia? Because it is a very well-regulated environment, and I think it's a good place for us to get started. because the MFIs tend to be pretty well matured, and that will help us scale up quite quickly. All right? So now I'll hand over to my good friend Michael.
Okay, good morning everybody. I'm here today because I'm Hoon's sidekick in Cambodia. As you mentioned, both of us are championing the microfinance course at Phillip Capital. So I'll now go into the details of our microfinance involvement in Cambodia. Starting with the country, starting with the landscape. Now in Cambodia, Cambodia has a population of about 15 million people, with a GDP per capita of about US 1,000, which I believe is lower than Indonesia, which is lower than Indonesia, but slightly higher than Bangladesh. And with regards to the microfinance industry in Cambodia, the industry has been really growing very fast over the past 5 years, perhaps a bit too fast for comfort. Today, currently, the number of MFIs in the country is about 30. And I remember when I first started visiting the country with Teong about 2 years ago, there were only 20 MFIs. And as you can see on the slide, the total microfinance loan portfolio has increased by 50% in just 1 year, from 378 million to 571 million in September last year. Whereas the number of borrowers has increased just 14%, 1/4. From 976,000 borrowers to 1.1 million borrowers. So from the numbers, it seems that the MFIs in Cambodia are lending bigger and bigger sums of money to the existing borrowers. Now, on the slide, PAR 30 stands for, actually refers to non-performing loans that are past due by more than 30 days. And as you can see, the NPL rate is very low, below 1%. Now, out of the 30 MFIs, 7 of them are authorized to collect deposits from the general public. And this authorization was only granted fairly recently, about 2 years back. And you can see in just 2 years, the 7 MFIs have been able to gather more than US 88 million from some 256,000 depositors. So on the average, each depositor is putting in about depositing about US $340. Now this slide shows the top 10 MFIs in Cambodia, which collectively account for more than 90% of the total loan portfolio in the industry. And as Mr. Ong mentioned just now, we are currently invested in First Finance, which is ranked number 16 in terms of the size of its loan portfolio. Now, and we're also in the process, like Mr. Ong mentioned, in the process of investing in 2 more MFIs. MFIs stand for microfinance institutions. And we are in the final stage of the investment process. And to clarify, when I say that we are in the final stage of the investment process, what I'm saying is that we are quite likely to complete the acquisition. But nevertheless, there's a small chance that the acquisition may not materialize. So I'll now turn my attention to First Finance, which has a loan portfolio of US $3 million and just 255 borrowers. Now we started First Finance about 2 years ago, together with 2 other shareholders, Institutor and First Home. And First Finance is a very special company to us. Its business model is still evolving. Although it has a full microfinance license, it has chosen to focus only on providing mortgage loans and home improvement loans in Cambodia. And its target customers are mainly people who are currently renting a house, and because of their low salary, they are unable to qualify for a mortgage loan from a regular commercial bank. Now this slide shows the social impact indicators of First Finance. And as you can see, we are trying to segment our customer base into 3 categories. Those earning $2 to $6 per day, those earning $6 to $12 per day, and those earning more than $12 per day. And as you can see, 49% of our loans currently are being provided to clients earning more than $12 per day. And of course, it's our objective to reduce this percentage to as low as possible. Because for clients who are earning more than $12 a day, it is quite likely that they will be able to qualify for a mortgage loan from a regular commercial bank. So these are not really our target customers in the long run. Now, MFI-C is one of the two MFIs that we're currently in the final stage of the investment process. And if you look at the map here, the areas in green are its current operating areas. And so you will see that this MFI operates mainly in the northwestern part of Cambodia, serving mainly the farmers and the villages along the Thai-Cambodian border. And like First Finance, this MFI is very special to us, because this is the only MFI in Cambodia that is not based in the capital city of Phnom Penh in southern Cambodia. Instead, its headquarters is in the city of Battambang, which is surrounded by acres and acres of farming land in a relatively remote part of the country, away from the capital. So on the slide, as I mentioned just now, for this particular MFI, it focused mainly on lending to the farmers, and so this is why you can see that more than 50% of its loans are currently being provided for agricultural purposes. If you look at the NPL, you can see that it's very low. There was a spike up to 2.8% during the financial crisis in 2009, but it has come down to below 1% today. MFI-K is the other MFI that we are currently in the final stage of the investment process. It's a much bigger MFI. It's one of the top 10 MFIs in Cambodia. And like MFI-K, most of the MFIs in Cambodia, they started in the 1990s when the political situation was more stable in the country. And they started off as projects that were funded by NGOs. But around 2004, they were all corporatized and became licensed microfinance institutions. And today, and in less than 20 years, you can see that this MFI has grown from being a loss-making operation funded 100% by NGO to a financially viable enterprise, employing nearly 700 people with more than 50 branches across the country. So moving quickly along, its loan portfolio, you can see how its loan portfolio has grown so quickly, from just 2.5 million in 2005 to more than 39 million today. And of course, this growth is quite remarkable, but at the same time, there's also, of course, cause for concern, which we can discuss during the panel discussion. Number of borrowers has also grown quickly from 11,000 borrowers to 55,000 borrowers today. The loan quality, it was as high as 5% in 2005, as low as 0.32% in 2008, and today it is less than 1%. Now let me just take a few minutes, if I may. I know that we are short of time, but we're coming to the important part of this presentation. Now today, I think I would say that almost all the established MFI in Cambodia are making good profits. So the bigger question is whether are they still very conscious that there's a larger social purpose driving their very existence. And just a few minutes ago, Mr. Ong explained the reasons why we in Phillip Capital are interested in going into microfinance. Now let me just take about 2 to 3 minutes to give you another perspective of our underlying motivations in this particular regard. And to do that, I need to go back to 1941. In the State of the Union address to the U.S. Congress, U.S. President Roosevelt proposed 4 fundamental freedoms that everybody on this planet ought to enjoy. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom from want, freedom from fear. And freedom from want, or freedom from economic need, is the third on the list. So let's call it the third freedom for the purpose of this presentation. So if we have this dream about the third freedom, how should we in Phillip Capital go about doing it? What should be our first step forward? Should we start a charity organization and start to collect donations from the very wealthy people in Singapore? Should we go to Cambodia Go to the remote villages, stay there for 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, and during that limited time, try to contribute as much of our limited time, money, and effort towards helping the villagers there? So to us at Phillip Capital, the answer is clear. Our first step should be to go into microfinance. And this is because when we are doing direct micro lending on the ground, we will be able to get a more intimate and more close-up view of the social economic conditions of the poor as their needs continue to evolve over time. And of course, to us at Phillip Capital, we need to do microfinance in the appropriate way, based on what we call our own triple bottom line. The organization must be financially viable and sustainable. The organization must constantly be looking for ways to positively impact the social economic conditions of its borrowers. And thirdly, and perhaps also more importantly, the organization must have some kind of a spiritual anchor, some kind of a moral compass to remind the management and the employees that there's a larger social purpose why they are involved in this micro-lending business. This is the finance line. But even with the triple bottom line, just lending to the poor is not going to go any way towards securing the third freedom. And this is why we feel that in Southeast Asia, I think there's a need to adopt some of the best practices of NGOs like World Vision and NGOs like BREAD in Bangladesh to leverage on microfinance as a platform to do more social good. So for us at Phillip Capital, we believe that once we are able to get a more intimate and close-up view of the social economic conditions of the poor after being directly engaged in microfinance, we feel that the next step is actually to try to help to build up other types of financially viable and financially sustainable enterprises that can generate employment. I think what Cambodia really needs in the long term is not just pushing and lending more and more money to the poor. I think what is really needed to secure the long-term future of Cambodia is the creation of more and more financially viable and financially sustainable enterprises that can generate employment for the population, especially for the poor. And if these other enterprises that generate employment also subscribe to our triple bottom line, then that would be really great for us. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Madam. So now we have about half an hour for Q&A with the participants here. As you can see, using the technology from Pigeon Live, there's a whole set of questions that some of you have already posted online, and I'd like to share that the most popular question that has been voted on is perhaps the question that I would like to pose to the panel, which is that how do social businesses in developed economy differ from one in less developed economies? What would then be the key elements of success for social businesses in developed economies? And maybe for this one, I would like to invite Professor Yunus to share his thoughts on this.
Well, as I was trying to explain before, social business are problem-solving businesses. So problems are not related to only one type of country. Every country, every society has problems. So that way, social business can be applied any situation. Like in Bangladesh, for example, we address the problem of malnutrition, problems of malaria, problems of water, problems of healthcare, and so on. In another country, in Germany, for example, they are looking into old age problem, drug problem. It's a social business. But in rich countries, anywhere, developed countries, problems of government subsidy dependence, welfare dependence, how to get people out of the subsidy dependence, become a full citizen so that they can function themselves on their own. That could be the issue of social business. Also, in the question of drugs, crimes, unemployment. In many countries, unemployment is a big issue. all over Europe right now, unemployment is a big issue. How to create employment for people don't have employment. Immigrants is another issue in many countries. Special categories of people, for example, Roma people in Europe is a big problem. Gypsy Roma people is a huge, big problem. Ethnic groups is a problem. Native Indians, for example, indigenous people is a big problem. So it's a question of whatever problem you see, you can come up with solutions through designing, creating social businesses. It's not the type of country that you're talking about. You have to talk about what is the problem, and then see if you can create a social business to address this problem.
We have seen several examples in the forum today of corporations trying to get into the social arena by partnering or investing in local entrepreneurial organizations. Now, some of them, as you have seen, had fully subscribed to the social business model of Prof Yunus, like Teong and like Yukiguni. But some, like Unilever and Phillip, have not embraced this model yet. And this relates to one of the questions that was raised, is that how could small and big business entity slowly transit into a sustainable social business? So maybe I can ask both Dr. Rao and Mr. Ong and Dr. Tan to maybe share your views about whether you feel that you might want to move towards a social business model where, you know, the organization does not pay dividend, but allow the surplus to be generated to continue to push for social impact. Perhaps your own personal thoughts on this?
So I can only quote on our Domestos Joint Academy model that I was talking about, because it's only one I've been working about. So basically it is all about creating small local businesses in countries. So the entire idea of that concept is to make it sustainable. So in the partnership with Unilever and with the World Toilet Organization, what we are going to be doing is to be creating small mini businesses in the country, and the training is going to be given to them. All the necessary tools and materials and equipment will be provided. And once initial business is set up, it's all about making it sustainable, and after that it will be sustainable and they can go ahead and you know, continue over a period of time, even without later on and the WTO or the Unilever being a part of it. So what we plan to do is start up in an area. Once it becomes sustainable, then move to another area. So that is what we are doing.
Thank you. And Mr. Ong, Dr. Tan, you want to say something?
Maybe just a quick response. Now, at Phillip Capital, when we invest in the MFIs in Cambodia, our intention is always that if any dividends are declared, we will plow the dividends back into the business, and some of this part of the dividends may be used for any social programs to support our triple bottom line approach. Now, more generally, if you take the example of Cambodia, what we see is the presence of many NGOs. Many hundreds and hundreds of NGOs providing free and subsidized services and training to the general population. And we think that in the long run, this is not good for the country. I think the country needs to grow up and start to become more and more self-reliant. So actually, we see that taking the example of Cambodia, a lot of the NGOs, like for example, there may be computer training schools that are currently offering free Microsoft Office training and so on, or free programming training. For these NGOs that are doing that, maybe they should follow the example of the microfinance companies in Cambodia. The microfinance companies in the 1990s, they all started as NGOs, and they were all losing money. They were not financially viable, not financially sustainable. But after 2003, most of them got their business model right, and now they are all, financially viable and sustainable enterprises. So, looking at Cambodia, we feel that, the NGOs in Cambodia, for example, the computer training schools, maybe they should follow the example of the microfinance companies, instead of strategizing about how to get more and more donations, how to get more and more volunteers, to provide the free and subsidized training, maybe they should start to think about, how can we become, financially viable and financially sustainable, and look at your own brothers, the microfinance companies that have been able to do that. Thank you.
If I may invite Professor Yunus to ask the next more popular question here, which is the one that says, is it possible to be financially sustainable in social business without providing any dividend to the investors? Wouldn't the investors leave? How is the social business different from charity? I'm sure you have answered this question many times, but it may be useful that you clarify this one more time here for the audiences who are still raising this question.
I was again to explain that charity and social business. Charity and social business probably does the same thing, trying to solve a problem. All the problems that I mentioned earlier, unemployment, poverty, healthcare, and so on and so forth, can be done in charity. The problem of charity is charity money goes, does the job, but doesn't come back. So it has only one-time use. So every time you want to repeat the same thing, to do the same thing again, you need a fresh injection of money. Again, it does the same thing with a fresh amount of money and get it done. So every time you want to repeat, you have to come back with a repeated amount of money. If you can somehow convert this whole thing into a business module, then it becomes a social business. You are doing it not to make money for yourself. You did the charity not to make money for yourself. You are doing the same way, social business, not to make money for yourself, but to do it in a sustainable way, in a business way. So you create a business to do the same thing. For example, Danone yogurt. We could create a charity organization, Grameen Danone Foundation, and produce this yogurt and distribute this yogurt free to the children. It could have done. But every time we do that, every cup we give, either Danone has to find the money to pay for it, or Grameen has to find the money to pay for it, because people are not paying for it. So we can allocate €1 million, create this foundation, and then distribute this €1 million worth of yogurt to the children, and then stop. If we need to do it again next day, we need another €1 million to do the same thing. But we convert it into a business, call it social business, where we sell this yogurt to the children, make it very cheap so that they can afford it, and the money comes back. So you recycle the money again and again. So the social business money becomes more powerful because it recycles, it continues to operate non-stop. You create an engine which fuels itself on its own. So that's the power of social business. That's the distinction between charity and social business. Objective-wise, there is no problem. But methodology-wise, there's a tremendous problem, tremendous difference, because it's much more powerful. And then you're creating an institution, a business institution, which continues, improves, comes up brighter ideas, and continues to access in technology to make it easier, make it cheaper, make it more powerful, and so on and so forth. So that's social business, I think. Then the questioner says that then the people, if they're not making money, if Danone is not making money, Grameen is not making money, they will disappear. Yes, of course they will disappear, provided they came here to make money. And I was explaining, they came here to make a difference. So as long as they make a difference, as long as they can solve the problem, they will be glued to it. Nobody can take them away, because that's what they wanted. It all depends what you want. Here, Danone wanted to make it happen so that we can solve the problem. And if the solution is there, for example, we are saying that it will reduce malnutrition or eliminate malnutrition. If it is happening, then of course, all of us are very excited to continue because we are not putting any more money. All we are doing is just recycling the money that we got. In the meantime, we are getting our money back. The initial investment money is coming back. So we have no stake left in us. Only thing, this company is owned by us, and it continues to help people or children to improve their health condition. So I don't see any reason why they should leave. If they came here and they're getting what they wanted, if the impact is very clear. You will leave because if you want to make money and then you're frustrated, you're not making money. That's not what you're promising. We're always saying it's a non-dividend company. And I'll give you a very concrete example, and probably to illustrate. When this is the Grameen Danone that we created in Bangladesh is €1 million company. That's the total investment we made so far. Grameen put €500,000 as a part of the bargain in the joint venture. Another $500,000 is supposed to be given by Danone in the beginning. But Danone took such a long time to find this money. Grameen money came right away. We put our money. But the Danone couldn't put the money because their lawyers objected. Always the lawyers create the trouble. I hope lawyers will forgive me. They created the trouble because there's a good legal point they raised, and that's a very relevant point for all of us here. Their lawyer's point was shareholders of Danone gave the management this money to invest in things which will bring money for them so that they get a dividend out of this. But this company in Bangladesh saying they will never give any dividend except returning the investment money. So legally, management cannot use Danone's money to put into this because they have no mandate to do that. So they are stuck. They cannot bring this €500,000. They signed the agreement, but no money. So they delayed, and we are asking them what happened. They have billions of dollars in the company, but cannot come up with $500,000. Then finally they explained the problem. But they came out with a very creative solution. What they did, they sent a letter to all the shareholders of Danone all over the world with a very simple proposition that we are going to establish a company in Bangladesh, such and such, Grameen Danone. It will do this, and it will solve the problem of malnutrition for the children, but it will never give any dividend. We can take back our investment money back, but nothing more than that. If you are interested, here is the dividend for the company, Danone. We are announcing this year. If you want to use part of this dividend to invest in this company, please put in the box here what percentage of dividend you would like to invest here, which will never give you the dividend, but change the life of the poor children. 98% of the shareholders of Danone signed up. They said we'll need only €500,000. It was in the letter. But they ended up with €35 million. And then another thing happened. They were happy. They got 35 million without expecting that. They had no idea what kind of response they would get. So they were very happy. Then another reaction came. Employees of Danone got very upset with the management. They thought they insulted the employees by asking the shareholders about investing in this company, never asked the employees about investing in the company. So under pressure, Danone has to circulate another letter to the employees. Exactly same thing, how much money you would like to invest in it in case you want to do that. Another €30 million came. So they ended up with €65 million. So they figured out what to do with that. So they created a fund, a social business fund, named it Danone Communities Fund. It's a community because employees and the shareholders all joined together. It became a community of their own. So they named it Danone Communities Fund and registered enlisted in the Paris stock market. And that was also history because Paris stock market never enlisted anything which doesn't make any profit or doesn't give any dividend. So they had to go through many legal hassles to create a fund which will never give any dividend to you. But it will do a lot of exciting things for our people. So finally enlisted it, and today that fund has nearly €100 million into that fund. People are investing into that fund. And that's why the idea of social stock market idea came. Why don't we create a separate stock market? where we'll tell people, when you come here, you'll never get any dividend here if you want to come. But every penny that you put in here, invest in here, it will change lives somewhere. You choose your company, what you want to do. This company does this company does this, but it will never give you dividend. You are lucky, you'll get your money back. That's all. And you'll be surprised how many people will be walking into that door. Today you can't do that because everything in the stock market is about making money. The moment you enter, you're looking for the company which gives you the most money overnight. So you don't think about the social impact. So this is a social stock exchange, which will outright say, these are the companies which will never give you any dividend in monetary sense. But it will definitely touch the lives of many people. And people will come up. This is once you do that, then probably Danone type of response you will get. And now the question is, will the employees of Danone withdraw this money because they are not getting any dividend? Will the shareholders of Danone withdraw this money? Out of this nearly 100 million euro fund, now they have created 14 different social businesses in different countries. In Tunisia, in Algeria, in Cambodia, in India, in Poland, and many places. Just keep adding more and more social businesses.
If I may add a related question to this would be that I get asked by many social entrepreneurs who say, I like your social business model, I want to start a business where my goal is to make an impact but not to make profit for myself. But my problem is that I cannot find investors who are willing to invest in my venture because I am not going to generate dividends. So clearly what is needed is a social business fund, that is investors who are invested totally because of the purpose of generating social impact. Could you share a little bit thought about how and in what way we can create or encourage more such social business funds to be established in Asia and in particular in Singapore?
Well, we are trying to persuade Professor Wang to create a social business fund. By the time we finish this, probably people will be waiting with money to put it there. I'm sure they'll come. I was addressing like this, discussing in Bombay about 2 years back. And once it's over, and we are having a kind of networking after the session, waiting for our lunch. And someone comes forward, did anybody do any social business fund in India? I said, no. He said, can we do it with a small amount of money? I said, any amount is okay as long as this is dedicated to this particular purpose. He said, I would like to do one. I said, okay, why don't you do that? I had no idea how much he's talking about. He said, can I start with 5 crore rupees and put my own money into that fund? I said, 5 crore rupees is a lot of money. You can definitely do that. So he created right out of that his own personal money, 5 crore rupees, a social business fund. Today there are 4 companies already invested with this money, and many more are waiting. And this is a functioning social business fund out of one meeting, and a spontaneous reaction to that. And now there are many companies coming, and another fund is created or in the process of creation right now in India, which will be based in IIM in Ahmedabad, Indian Institute of Management. They took it very seriously. They want to create a social business center and a social business fund. And that social business fund already announced in the press. This will be 50 crore fund, which will be $10 million fund based in IIM Ahmedabad. So this is another one coming up on the way. And Credit Agricole in France, they will be announcing a social business fund soon, probably next month. Their board will be approving this fund next month. Initially, it will be launched with 20 million euro, but they will try to reach to 50 million euro immediately by getting other investors to come in, but they will launch it with 20 million euro. So this is a fund again coming up. So there are many such funds are being created, and I just mentioned Danone Communities Fund. So it's a question of somebody taking initiative that a fund can be created. And social business doesn't have to be a mega company. It could be a very small company. Usually it's good to start with a small company, like the Danone company that we said is €1 million. It could be but €100,000, $100,000 fund, investment, or $50,000 investment. So you create a small company which does the job. Once prototype is developed and refined, then you get the speed to make it up and continue to expand, reach out as many people as you want. And then you need the funding, and those funds will be very, very useful to do that. So prototype development will be immediate thing. And young people particularly has lots of ideas, and experienced people have their own experience and ideas, come up with social business designs. When the social business design is done, so this fund can be available to make the investment. So the fund is an important aspect. And I don't see people worrying here probably is, where is the questionnaire is also asking, where is the fund coming from? I have a great idea. I want to do that. My answer is, before the ideas came, funds are already created. So funds preceded the ideas. It's a very lucky situation where funds are waiting for ideas to come forward and get it going. Rather than the other way, there's plenty of ideas floating around, there's no money coming. Lucky situation is here, so money is here and may not be available right here in Singapore today, but by the time next forum we get, we'll definitely have a social business fund created right here in Singapore, and a very attractive one too. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words of encouragement. And I do hope here we will try to work towards the goal. Yeah, we are running short of time, but I thought that there's one question that maybe is really important for you to clarify, and perhaps the other member panel may want to jump in as well. The question is, does making a shoe for €1, which the example you alluded to with Adidas, mean that somewhere someone is being exploited in its manufacture? How does that square with the social objectives?
I didn't quite get it, because I thought I tried to explain that social business is a business. If it is a business, you are not exploiting anybody in the sense that you're not giving something to somebody, you're depriving somebody. In order to be social business, there are 7 principles of social business. One of the principles says that the wage of the employees should be not only equal to the market, but slightly better than the market, so that you justify your being a social business. So the question of depriving the workers doesn't arise, because you are giving to give market level wage, even better level wage. Sometimes market level wage is depressed. You don't want to see that benefit somebody by depriving somebody. That doesn't make sense. So you want to do the right thing for everybody. Also environmental issues, you want to make sure you don't harm the environment. And Grameen Danone is a good example. Let me quickly go into the Grameen Danone again. They were showing me the cups which will be used in the dispensing of the yogurt. And I looked at it, I said, it looks like plastic in the very early stage when they were designing it. Yes, they said, this is plastic. I said, no, in social business, plastic is not allowed. They were shocked. They were trying to impress me by these cute little cups that made. And I said, no, it is not acceptable. So they were very surprised. They said, what kind of cups you want? I said, biodegradable, of course. They said, we don't have any biodegradable material. All over the world in Danone, we use plastic. I said, all over the world, you're a profit maker. Here in Bangladesh, you are a social business. So in social business, you have to be very careful at every step. So why don't you find some biodegradable material so that you can use it here? They had no clue where to find this biodegradable material. And for next 4 months, they disappeared. They didn't come to me. But after 4 months, they came very joyously entering my room. We did it. We found the biodegradable material. And they showed me, again, cute little cups. But this time, this biodegradable material. I said, where did you find it finally? They said, we looked through the whole world. We couldn't find it. Finally, we found it in China. What is this material? I said, this is a cornstarch. Out of the cornstarch, we made this material, and it's a beautiful biodegradable material. And we are very impressed with it. We tested it and everything, and we got it done. I said, okay, looks fine. Then I brought it to my mom. I said, can I eat it? They were shocked. Why do you want to eat it? I said, well, you're selling this yogurt to the poor children. The poor families will be spending money on this. Why should anybody spend money on something they have to throw away? Why don't you find out edible cups? and put nutrition in the cup also. I said, we never heard of this. I said, yes, I heard a lot. You didn't, but I did. I said, what kind of thing you think is edible cup? I said, like the ice cream, you have the ice cream cone. Why didn't you find it something like that? I said, this is not ice cream. I said, that's why I'm asking you, you're the expert. So this is the kind of conversation. That problem is not resolved. They have not yet found that edible cup. And I have not forgiven for that. So I have kept talking. But their scientists, the researchers in Paris are very excited. They said, nobody asked this question to us. And we didn't have any reason to find it. So now that you ask question, we are all excitedly looking for it. How to make it biodegradable, not only biodegradable, it's edible cups. And we're sure you will find it someday. I said, keep working because it's getting too late already. So they're working on it. So let's hope that. So this is the issue. So we are not depriving anyone. First of all, it's a business. You cover your cost. And it's not charity. I mentioned it in my quick presentation. I said it's not charity issue. Like you buy one pair and one pair gets free. It's not that kind of thing. It has to be covered by the price that you charge. So that it's a self-contained business. And that's where the technology and creativity come. That's why company like Adidas took 2 years to produce that. It's not just 1, 2, 3 produce it, okay, give them free. 1 million euro, here's the check, take it. It's not like that. You bring all your technology, all your creativity to make that happen. And finally they made it. They feel so excited that they made the shoes, good looking shoes, durable shoes, but price point is under €1. That's what it is.
Thank you. Well, there are many more questions that people would like to ask Professor Yunus as well as the members of the panel, but unfortunately we are really out of time. So please.
Question?
Sorry? Okay, less than 1 minute.
I'm Yeung, I run Social Enterprise Association in Singapore. Well, charity runs business. YMCA runs very successful hospital business to fund the program. So charity, non-profit can be in business. As an association, we are agnostic. We would accept social enterprise as really for profit and non-profit. So of course, we have very esteemed audience here. I want to ask, when we look at the fund, when Professor Muhammad said that it exists, but not in Singapore yet. But we have an esteemed group of audience. Who would put money into the fund if it's just for impact without dividends? Come on. I'm being bad, right? I'll go back to you later on. Okay, the other question I really want to ask is this no dividend concept. I mean, Singaporeans looked at employees or employers.
1 minute.
I'm sorry. Let me run on. It'll be interesting. Someone look at businessman as entrepreneur, different, creating innovation. Whereas employee has a different mindset. You are a follower. So you say that if you create a non-profit business and I get a salary, as a businessman, am I satisfied? Now I look at myself, if I'm a parent and my child would go and start a non-profit organization and draw a salary instead of profits and good returns at the end of the day, what do I say to my son? Thank you.
Again, we talk about non-dividend company in social business, but not non-profit. It's a non-dividend company which earns profit.
But the profit
stays with the company.
That's right. So no investors can take it out. I'm sure the founder wants to take it back.
The investors cannot take it out. They can take out only the money they have invested. And that's what they wanted. It's not that somebody's forcing them.
That's right.
That's what they wanted, and that's what they get.
Possibly profit.
And also about the salary and so on. If I'm the investor, I'm the owner of the company. If I work for the company, I get the salary. That I'm entitled to.
That's right.
But I don't get the dividend. So there's a difference between a dividend and a salary. If I am contributing my service and so on, I get my salary, equivalent to market salary. And that's what I will get. If I'm just an investor, I hire some CEO, I pay the CEO salary. So nobody's doing is a voluntary work here. This is not a voluntary work. This is a business work. In the business world, everybody is compensated according to his quality.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm sure some of this question can be further discussed afterwards. There's an informal networking lunch outside later. But before we adjourn, we will actually have 3 interesting sort of entrepreneurs who are trying to start up social business that will try to share with you their ideas. So at this point, please join me in thanking Professor Yunus and the panel for sharing their insights.
Thank you, Professor Wong and the panelists, for their valuable insights.